discussing the technical aspects of the case.
You're talking of privacy. It's something like when you're just mentioning while revealing anonymity. So while revealing any kind of a result, we need to keep even the place because people could be identified. It is more important that the technical issues need to be discussed rather than the place or the situation where it has occurred. Something of that
This
kind.
actually is a very important aspect. I purposely didn't put that slide here because it would be covered in your stored samples and all those things. Anonymization, actually there are different steps. One is coding. You can have single coding, double coding, or you can have anonymization or anonymous. Anonymous means you just cannot get back to the patient. All the codes are broken. I mean the connections are broken. Whereas in anonymization, you still can get back to the person, but for that you have to have proper safeguards in place. Without that you cannot do that. Then this has actually offered legal challenges, and one of the famous ones is this California case, Tanya Tarasso versus Regents of the University of California. 1976 was a major judgment on this case. I will elaborate on this a little while later. And then you know very well that abortion is not allowed in certain countries. If you just look at that, Poland, see here it was in 1996, but 1 year later they had this criminal code for illegal abortion. This is actually creating a lot of problems there. And then in Argentina again against abortion, the thing is there, but you know very well that many people resort to abortion. So if it comes to the attention of law, then they are in real trouble. In Malawi, a rape victim, actually it's injustice. A rape victim resorting to abortion was actually prosecuted because it was against the law. And in India, most of you would be familiar what ripples it created when the case of HIV positive fiance came in print media and all those things. I will come to that a little while later. The Supreme Court direction in this case was obligations of professionals to warn sponsor or lovers or would-be spouses of HIV infected patients who refuse to disclose their status and who refuse to engage in safe sex. So this is obligation of beneficence, which is overriding obligation of confidentiality, and this actually could be very dilemma creating situation for the treating physician. And you also have this influencing the public policy. For example, screening and testing of HIV in Goa state has been made mandatory before marriage. And public health hazard, mother to child transmissions. Then ensuring effective treatment of active tuberculosis for non-compliant patients. Then applied human genetics and DNA banking. All these have got implications on confidentiality issues. The other challenges that we are facing recently is about the electronic database, the second party access. You not only have the insurance companies as the enemy number one, but look at this, union leaders also can create trouble by trying to get access to that data. Of course, physicians in private sectors and defense establishments sometimes are under pressure to reveal certain aspects. And third party relations, that is what is going to be highlighted a little while later about the Tanya Tarasso case. Then assisted reproductive technology, this is a very dicey area where donor information is a fact which can create a lot of problems. But that is why if you go through our guidelines, you would find that certain salient points are there which speak about when to reveal this information. Then transplantation of course leads to paternity issues. I also know of a case where the bioethicist I brought the issue to our group mainly to get help about what should be done in such a case, that the daughter is offering to donate her kidney, but while matching they found out that the father is not her father who is to get the kidney. Now, whether to inform her about that or not, or whether to just put it under the carpet, because whatever we say, a doctor is a human person and can be swayed by his or her own emotions and the moral integrity that the person has. So, this again can be problematic. Here you guys are supposed to go and spread this message about bioethics in your region, and in time to come you will become experts in bioethics, and then you will become bioethics consultants, and at that time there might be people coming like that, and I would encourage that you form your regional group or something like that, form a group where people could approach you with the difficulties like that, physicians. Like now what they are sending us as email, they could send you people the email. So, you find that there is always a conflict, or many a times a conflict between the right of individual or right of community, right to privacy versus right to information. Now, you have this RTI also coming in, so that creates a lot of problems sometimes. Then right to confidentiality versus duty to disclosure. That is what the HIV case was, and also the Tania case. And when a right is justifiably overridden, it is infringed, you call it infringement and not violation. So, judgment in confidentiality issues, what is good morally? Is it related to obligation or right? As he said, when we say privacy, it is a right of the participant. When we say confidentiality, it is the obligation of the physician. Okay, so where do you draw a line? How do you come to a agreeable decision? Does a rule or policy support the judgment? So, whenever there is a law in the country or there is a policy, one should always have that framework, and within that framework you should work it out. When there is no such thing, then naturally it's the decision is yours. So, to facilitate that, I just want you to understand that there are 4 models available. One is, in which such situations can be dealt by. Paternalistic, that you know very well that the physician is the person who decrees there. Informative is a two-way conversation on the technical aspects, and it is on equal basis. Interpretive and deliberative, you will know that a little while later. Who has what role in these 4 models? Anil is HIV positive truck driver wounded in an accident. After discharge from hospital, he needs regular dressing at home. He admits to the hospital authorities that he is HIV positive, but requests that it may be kept confidential. Now, what is the economic status of this driver? Poor. So, daily dressing is difficult for him. So, the best nurse is his wife. His wife is willing to do the dressing, but is unaware about husband's HIV status. Now, the HIV status actually is a stigma for his family and the community from where he comes. Then it, on personal level, it also causes psychosocial harm, fear of rejection by the family, and then there is also the risk of infection to the wife and family, and he cannot afford to pay for a nurse to do the dressing. What are the ethical issues involved? It is the interest of the patient and his wife is clashing here. So, the patient's right to confidentiality versus physician's duty to warn of the risk. What I was telling was the initial conflict that I showed you, that is the obligation to keep it confidential and the obligation to reveal it. So, you have learnt over and over again about the two stands that people can take, that every action should maximize benefit. And here in this case it would be happiness. So, the greatest happiness to most people, then right action to be taken disregarding consequences. As I told you, it is always consequence related. Either you do the right thing without thinking of the consequences, or you do something thinking about the consequences. So, these are the two stances you can always take. What are the alternatives in this case? Tell the wife that Anil is HIV positive and ask her to take appropriate universal precautions for herself and the family. The other alternative is keep Anil's status undisclosed. Now, I was talking about the different models. Paternalistic, you have no problems because you know that it is the physician who is taking the decision. Informative, as I told you, it is a to and fro traffic between the physician as well as the patient. So, Anil is told clearly of the perceived risks and benefits, probable short term and long term outcomes both for himself and his wife and family, and the decision to tell rests with Anil. Interpretive, the physician helps Anil to derive a consistent response to decide what is important value, truthfulness as a core, or to withhold information. So, it is Anil who has to decide what course he should take. Now, deliberative, it engages Anil in a dialogue aiming to persuade him to agree to the physician's own choices, but avoiding coercion. So, there is very slight difference between this one and this one. Here the physician is exerting his authority. Here the physician tells him that, you know, I would like you to say this. Then he leaves the choice to the participant or patient. So, what are these consequences? If appropriate precautions were to be taken, probably the infection won't be transmitted to the wife. That is the advantage. Then it is possible that women being women, generally women are blamed for that, but I do not agree to that, men also do that, they tell others. Okay. So, possible that others in the family and the community may learn about Anil's HIV infection, and it leads to stigmatization and ostracization. And if you do not tell Anil's wife, she may not take adequate precaution and get infected, or eventually his family will know, and when Anil develops the symptoms and he may suffer rejection, again the same story. Then eventually his wife will find out, that is also possible, and may blame him for having needlessly exposed her to the risk of HIV infection. So, this is the complex situation you can always encounter. Now, Day is HIV positive and is getting married in 1 month's time. Fiancé does not know Day's HIV status. What should the physician do?
No, my question here is, how does it concern the physician whether or not they is getting married?
This is the exact technical, clinical, cold attitude of the physician. Okay, if you have number of patients coming to your clinic in a government hospital, you hardly have any time to get into the family problems of that person. So, you may not even know about it. In a private institution, they are just bothered about the time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, over. You can discuss this with your family and just push him off. But as physicians, we are not, there is something much more to that, and we have to actually find solutions, help him find solutions if everything allows, like time allows, circumstances allow, because many a times a physician may want to do that, but may not be actually disposed due to lack of time and other things. So, here you have the conflict of rule between truth telling and confidentiality. This is where I bring to your attention the earlier Supreme Court thing. In our guidelines, we also state that when required by law, or when it is for preventing risks to the community or public health issue, then you can breach confidentiality.
When we are talking about really HIV issue, there is important part is how to prepare this particular person to tell the possible spouse or the fiancé in this case. I mean, counseling, this is where the role of the counseling comes, and if the person is prepared to tell and the importance of it, probably he may not want to disclose his own HIV status, he may bring the
Yeah, good.
possible fiancé to
So
bring in there.
she
and
has
that's
brought
where
out, I was expecting somebody bring that out. For sensitive issues like genetics and HIV, or maybe other diseases also which are of contagious nature, which the other people may not want to be transmitted to. In such situations, you really need to counsel the person before you even do the diagnosis. And after the diagnosis also, if the person turns out to be positive, then he will require a lot of counseling. So that's the issue. When you breach the confidentiality, it's not merely breaching, you have other duties also to perform. Now, this is an interesting case. Have you heard about this case, Prasenjit Poddar? He was a man from Bengal who went to University of California at Berkeley. And in universities where you have these foreign students and all that, they come and meet in some common hall or some common functions, etc. So there was some international house or something like that. And Tanya had come there for some folk dance learning and all those. So they got to know each other. And there was a New Year celebration going on, and at that time naturally there the boys and girls